Hello, welcome back everyone. So I have your weekly astrological transits ready for you. This one, we're going from Monday, June 10th through Sunday, which will be Father's Day, June 16th. So just big shout out, tons of love coming to you. I hope you celebrate all week long and beyond. Just take the whole month, right? Celebrate our fathers. So yeah, there are so many aspects going on between the moon hitting up. The moon's going to go through Leo, Virgo, Libra, and then touch into Scorpio. But along the way in there, we have Mars squaring Pluto as well. So I'll just bring you over my table and we'll go through it one day at a time as usual. Okay, be right back. Okay, so here's our chart for Monday. And what I'm drawn to most of all is this inconjunct right here coming from Ceres. So remember, Ceres is all about what we want to nurture, what we will work hard for when it's in the sign of Capricorn. Ceres, she is retrograde. She's related to all things of the feminine reproductive cycles and food and farming and taking care of our animals, basically like what we care about and what we will nurture, bottom line. And it's also connected to grief and separation. With this inconjunct coming down here to the sun, there's a light shining. Now we're at that we're in that last decan of the sign with the sun at 20 degrees of Gemini. So again, to focus in on Gemini, the best way we can use the energy is to have a really healthy curiosity, to learn new things, to be curious, to learn new things is a better way to say that, to listen well to others. And it can help us especially in this third decan, because this is a deepening and blooming, last 9 degrees, 20 to 29 degrees. We've already gone through the developing foundations, the learning lessons, and now we've learned something and we're either integrating and deepening or blooming that way, showing what we've learned, or maybe just more deeply integrating what we've already learned. And but there's an adjustment coming from Ceres. So there could be something today that has come up that it goes a little counterproductive to all the things that you were working on, working towards. Maybe somebody doesn't come through with some plans that they were meant to deliver in some way, or show up for the job that they were meant to, that they promised they would do, something like that. There's this need for an adjustment here. And, Venus is really only 1 degree close by. I have the settings at a very tight orb, but we can see right here, 19 to 21 degrees, and I know in my head that when it comes to an inconjunct, the orb is between 0 and 3 degrees. So Venus is in there as well. And with the sun very, very close to Venus, which it will be conjunct tomorrow, exactly, it's conjunct now, but exactly conjunct tomorrow, we're joining up with the feminine forces, the feminine side that wants to unite and bring things together, make things more beautiful. We're making comparison values so that we can make things more beautiful. Like maybe we're learning, it wouldn't cost that much if I did it this way. Or this person that gave me this ridiculously expensive bid to do a very simple job is so out of alignment with what my real values are, that I'm looking outward to, I'm thinking of new ways to handle it. So it can be like that. And with Mercury catching up to the sun, moving closer and closer every day, is Mercury, the planet of learning and communication and negotiating and connecting the dots, finding the patterns, and then articulating what you know. And actually, with Mercury, there's a lot that has to do with analyzing and using your healthy reasoning abilities, which when that's fully integrated, that turns into wisdom. So this week is all about that, even though we don't have an exact conjunction yet, but it's coming. So when we have this inconjunctus series, this can be grief and separation from some people who are greedy. Ceres in Capricorn can have to do with greed, and because they're coming from hoarding, because they have this intrinsic false belief within that it's like Mary Trump's book, Too Much and Never Enough, something like that. Her first book, Too Much and Never Enough, about her uncle. And he's going through some things, right? Since May 30th, man, there's a grief and separation there, and we'll see what it looks like when we get to the 14th, which is his birthday, which I think last week I picked up on that it didn't look like it would be too good, but we'll see. And I haven't put it in his chart and printed that out, so I won't be showing you that, but I only have so much time. So anyway, besides the adjustment that's going to be needed because we're learning new things, and we do have these values to protect. With Ceres, it's protect. In Capricorn, our physical resources, which include your money, your time, and your energy. And so there might be some moving on from there's an adjustment to be made, but that adjustment might very well be moving forward in a new way that opens up something internally with Gemini. There can be an internal communication going on because you're seeing both sides of the situation. Like somebody up here is being very one-sided and greedy, but you're down here focused on, we have all this other energy because we just had the new moon in Gemini, right? Remember we had we had the moon hook up with Jupiter and Mercury, and then get sandwiched right in between with the sun. Mercury, it was like a new moon sandwich is what I saw, but I felt like it was some kind of a super new moon, so that's what super new moon stellium is what I called it. Well, now by Monday, the moon's already moved through Cancer and is now in Leo. So Leo's like, hey, wait a minute. I think I can be a little more courageous with, because I've learned so much since the new moon. I think maybe I can be a little more courageous in figuring something out and moving forward from this new information that you've learned. And people who, either did or said or withdrew or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like people, when they're in their unconscious, manipulation, they will either try to be aggressive, and that includes passive aggression, and that's controlling, right? Or they'll withdraw, they pull back and just don't do anything, and you're left hanging and waiting, which is major form of manipulation, and it kind of puts a big, fork you out into the universe coming from them, but they never say a word, won't ever say a word. So in their sick and twisted minds and psyche and soul, they think that they're like one up and whatever's going on there. It's just ridiculous. And then the other way is the other form of manipulation in relationship is submission. And that's where people will, and it's kind of sad because in the highest realm that's coming from love and this, wanting to connect and give and serve. And so, but sometimes they'll give to get, right? And it won't be like an honest giving. And then they'll feel resentful that they gave, and then they'll put that out on you. Like they think you won, and now there's some payment that needs to come through in some funny way. Yeah. So these are the ways that humans can manipulate each other. Besides the very sick and twisted ways of just plain old gaslighting and yeah. And that brings to mind the GOP Senate. Remember last week I said I thought a lot of decisions were going to be made And here we did have the GOP bring to the floor. I'm sorry, the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, and yeah, it's pretty much, I think, Chuck Schumer leading the cause, but brought the bill to the floor to be voted on about birth control. Protecting birth control was his intention. And the GOP, there was only one, so they needed a 60 vote, right? And only one, so we only had 51 votes. And so now the GOP, the one that came forward was Susan Collins. None of the other ones came forward. So now the GOP has made their stand. Now we know that they will vote to take away birth control. So we are so far to the extreme right when it comes to, controlling through their sick form of religion. But they're not even really aligned with the real forces of like Christ or, any true religion is all about free will. Any true religion is about coming home to who you truly are and having the support to do that. But religion has been so distorted by people. Like, can you imagine being Christ and going, what are they doing? What? And you just have to hold the space of love because no matter what, we always have our free will. As adults, we have our free will. And from there we can choose what to think, how to hold the space in our hearts. And then hopefully we do have free will over our actions. Now, people in prison don't have too much control, but that's sometimes it's there are innocents in there, put there, but maybe there's a past life situation that wasn't finished out, and this lifetime it will be. I don't know. I'm sure everything is always an individual. When you're looking at karmic patterns, it's all extremely individual, and it's not so simple. It's not as simple as just because this is happening, you did that to somebody else. Karma doesn't work that way. Karma works according to the law of cause and effect, and because you have a certain belief, then that's the effect that comes back into your life. It's that simple. But anyway, the GOP wants to cause us to be in the Handmaid's Tale. I'm in their minds, we are officially in the Handmaid's Tale. So come Rovember, I imagine it's going to be a very different situation. But they are showing us who they are. And so that's on the record as of today, as of this morning, Thursday, D-Day, June 6th, 2024. So there's that. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. What else? With this sesquisquadrate here coming off of Ceres. So remember the sesquisquadrate? Well, sometimes it can be just a stubborn energy. And coming from Ceres to Jupiter, I would say, yeah, this would be women stubbornly holding on to their beliefs with Jupiter and their right to make a choice, which is Gemini, right? But then it's also detours. It can have to do with a disruption. So I don't know what might happen on Monday, but it could very well have to do with a law. And it could have to do with women's rights. So maybe something else comes through. Maybe the GOP is doing something stupid again this Monday. Or it could be, because today's Thursday, it could be that over the weekend, it takes through the entire weekend, it's possible, for people to know what the GOP voted on yesterday, on June 5th. So with that information, now maybe there's some recompense coming through to the GOP. Maybe there is some detour they're going to need to go through. And then we can also see Saturn over here squaring. Saturn's at 19 degrees Pisces, holding space for inclusiveness, for people to be able, well, for compassionate and sensitive energy. But with the square over to the sun, the light, the sun is all about a spotlight. Something is being illuminated. Sun and the moon will illuminate. With the moon in Leo, I would think, women are like, oh, what? What now? And then here we are with the sun in Gemini, and we have a new deepening of knowing what is right and what isn't. And so, with Saturn being the ruler of the government and those systems that are set in place. And then with the sextile over here to Ceres, there's an opportunity to to come full circle in a way that we say no, and more women are energized. So bottom line, what the GOP has done as of, today, Thursday, D-Day, June 6th, is 2024, is that they have shown all of the voting population where they want us to be and how they think, what they think we deserve to be experiencing in our lives. They're trying to remove protections that have been in place for more than 50 years, and we still didn't really get everything back. I mean, the Equal Rights Amendment has never been ratified. So they're trying to bring us into these other countries, they want women to have these experiences, and women and young girls. It is possible for a young girl to get pregnant at 9 years old. It's happened. It has happened. So imagine being forced to give birth at, 9, 10, 11. It's happened already. So just think about a person, like how would a child take care of a child? It would just, and what it would do to your body. I mean, it's crazy. So I have to just let that go for now and focus on this. But, the patterns, we're seeing how far they would go is my point. And if we don't use Eris in the healthy sense and fight, then that's what we're all headed towards. And so you can see Pluto squaring Mars. I'll talk about that tomorrow when it's exact, but that we're moving into that as well. Because Mars, as of, I think it was last Sunday night, moved into Taurus. So it's a whole different battle, is all I'm going to say right now. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? Because there's no aspects to the moon this morning, let's just, and it looks like, yeah, because we already had that opposition with the moon opposing Pluto. Yeah, that's definitely, that has to do with what they voted on, I'm sure. Yeah, in hindsight, looking at that. We can see Venus sextile Chiron. That's not quite exact, so I'm going to go ahead and move forward, and we'll see if it's exact tomorrow. So here's Tuesday. Yes, it is actually there. Okay, so Mars squares Pluto. It comes in at 6:21 a.m. Tuesday on the 11th. So Mars is what we will fight for. In Taurus, it has to do with our principles, with our ownership, and it rules the body. We own our bodies, right? It has to do with our self-preservation and our security. And the only way you can piss off Taurus in a few ways, but the main ways are to take away their sense of security and control over their own lives, or getting pushed and pushed and pushed. It's kind of like, well, don't ever like tailgate a Taurus because they'll just keep slowing down. Anyway, they don't like being pushed. They don't like to be rushed. But the scenario I was thinking of is like, imagine a kid. Imagine a parent. A kid wants something. They ask the parent, and they say no, and they might not give a good reason. Or maybe you just have one of those kids that just keeps on you and keeps asking, and why? But why not? But what? Okay, when? Maybe can I later? No. We go, what? You know what? And they go, oh, they don't stop, and they just imagine it's a scenario, right? Where you're trying to take care of other kids. Maybe you're a mom trying to do laundry. Maybe you're trying to get everybody out the door for school. Whatever you're doing, and you've got this one kid that won't get off you and won't let off you and really wants an answer, and they need to learn not to push. Imagine you're a Taurus mom with like maybe you have a stellium in Taurus or something. And, you want everybody to be safe and taken care of, and you're doing your best, but then you've got this one kid that's, I don't know, maybe a Scorpio coming from the other side, but why? And doesn't mind the confrontation and doesn't mind even creating a little bit of crisis as long as they get what they want. Like I'm looking at the dark side of both. And then, so if this mom has a Mars transit, what you get, Mars goes around the chart every 2 years. So if you have a sun, and high five to all of you Tauruses out there who are having Mars on their sun, you're getting a lot of energy. You're getting an extra burst of life force coming through. So that's good because you can put it to good use. But this could be the mom that blows up and says, I told you, I'm not going to tell you again. And they stop for a moment and get right in that kid's face and, and just shut them down, right? Or maybe there's some other consequence, maybe there's some creative consequence that they do instead of getting right in their face. It all depends, but when you get pushed to your limit, things can blow up, and that is especially, that scenario is what I'm seeing with Mars square Pluto, because Pluto over here is all about power. And us humans, we always have to learn how to manage our power. And kids always push, right? They push because they're bumping up against authority, right? They're born here, they come in this world coming straight from the highest realms of love and light, and then dang, here we are in duality, and things are painful. You can imagine everything that the little one, an infant, goes through. And so there's this, my point here is that there's this interface, this dualistic issue with authority. So every little one, whether they know it or, of course, they don't know it, maybe we don't even figure that out until we're much older adults. But everything is an authority issue. So are you in your authority over your own life, or are you reacting against outside authority instead of finding a workaround, which you can do as an adult, usually, almost always. But with this Mars in Taurus squaring, so we've got Earth. Earth doesn't move very quickly, right? Pluto's strong, but Pluto in Aquarius is an air sign. The mountains stay still, the wind blows, right? So maybe it's going to blow for some dark, dirty politicians that want to have control over everyone. Because remember, Aquarius on that dark side can be very clever and very fanatic, and they can, in the dark side, they can be just, unemotional, and they don't care about anyone else, and it's all about control over, power over. But, here we have Uranus in Taurus, and with Uranus ruling Aquarius, and in the last, we only have five more, well, less than five more degrees before we get to 29 degrees in Taurus, in the sign of Taurus, and then Uranus will be in Gemini, but that'll won't be for quite some time. But the deal is with that, Uranus being the change agent, and in Taurus, Taurus does rule, it's a feminine sign, it's ruled by Venus. Venus is over here in Gemini, talking to the sun, Mercury, all of that, the sun's catching up. Actually, Venus has been kind of leading the edge there. And she's in that last decan of the sign as well. So there's a deepening of our convictions, because now we know some things that are much bigger than, well, I think we probably all knew it was coming. Like once they overturned Roe, my first thought was, oh shit, they're coming after birth control. Oh shit, this is just like The Handmaid's Tale. Oh shit, this is how it starts, right? But here we are. Okay. We have the sun at 21 degrees and the moon at 21 degrees. The sun in Gemini being air, the moon in Leo being fire. There's a lot of fighting words coming through. There's the opportunity, and like I said, Venus and Mercury are both, helping the sun out to bring the information through and to bring some kind of unity and harmony. But again, like I said before, Venus is all about our value systems. Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So Mars in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, our value systems have been changing, and now we're ready. We're willing to fight for it. We've got this semi-square in here where there's a need to take action, and this is coming from that's Mars. That's Mars to Mercury. Whoa. Okay. Wow. So major fighting words are going to be this. There's going to be some price to pay somehow, or it can just be a lot of organization, of courage. With the moon at 21 degrees, again, we're in that third decan where we're deepening and blossoming, and courage is what Leo is all about. Courage and self-expression that can make things bigger so that we can bring in new opportunities. And with the moon there, we're intuiting, we're working towards anything that helps us to be more connected to our souls. So deep down in your soul, everyone knows that we shouldn't be trying to control anyone else. Like what if men are not allowed to get vasectomies anymore? What if a man decides that he's going to have a career that he knows it's a career of service, but it doesn't pay well, and he knows he wouldn't ever be able to afford raising a child the way it deserves to be raised, and so he gets a vasectomy. Or maybe they've already had 3 kids, and he wants to make sure that he doesn't go over that is taking self-responsibility, right? Like if you know that you're barely making it with 3 kids, but your wife wants a 4th, and maybe you're going to take things into your own hands, whether she likes it or not. I shouldn't have said it that way, but anyhow, God. The deal is, we're not trying to take away men's Viagra. We're not trying to take away a man's right to control his ability to create new life that way. We're just trying to take care of ourselves, and it's overwhelming being a woman already. We're vulnerable, and there are a lot of us on the planet now who are much older, and so we're vulnerable and we're pissed, right? Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, Give me a high five if you put it in the comment. Are you feeling the same way I am? Because I am livid. And that is coming off of Eris, and we've got Chiron and Eris together. Even though we do have that, well, okay, so that's it right there. Eris is that, feminine courage that's just, she's been sitting there. I've said this so many times, but I have to keep repeating it in case you're new. Eris takes, first of all, Pluto takes 243 to 248 years to get around the zodiac. So wherever it lands in your natal chart at birth is really important, because it's really going to only make it through halfway. So you can see the areas of your life that will transform if you're looking at your natal chart. Eris takes 558 years to get around the zodiac. So all of us on the planet now have Eris in Aries somewhere. When I was born, it was at 8 degrees. But, you'd have to look at your chart and see where it was. And whatever house that's in is where you will fight the hardest, where you will have the courage to, it's kind of like Joan of Arc energy. There's no playing around. You are not going to get past this, whatever this is, kind of thing. You will fight. Aries fights. Aries is ruled by Mars, right? And Mars, remember, Mars has crossed over the North Node, the direction we're all going, and ruled by, it's in Aries. The North Node, Mars, it's like put Mars right here, and because Mars rules Aries, so Mars is the ruler of this North Node. Venus is the ruler of the South Node in Libra. So we've got Mars and Venus here, and there's, we could say it's a battle again, with the masculine and the feminine. Mars being masculine, Libra being feminine, but not really, because I don't know that you can genderize the planets like that. I don't think it works that way. Except for the moon does feel feminine, but every man has a divine feminine within them, and every woman has a divine masculine within. We both have both. In the spiritual realm, in the spirits in our bodies, there is no separation between the feminine that receives and gives, or feminine that receives and the masculine that gives. We have both. So coming from that, just think in terms of the fact that Mars has crossed over the North Node. Well, Mars hooked up with, Mars stays in one house for about a month and a half. So, I remember when Mars was up here in Capricorn and going through all these it's crossed over all these other major planets here. And the North Node and Chiron. So back to Chiron, that's all about working through your deepest wounding so that you can bring your deeper gifts through. And Chiron's kept catching up with Eris, so that courage is already being picked up by Chiron. So Chiron is becoming more and more and more courageous with this energy here, because then Mars already crossed over Chiron and Eris. So now Mars is in this place of this courage that won't move. It's unflappable. Yeah, it's like, go ahead, try and fork around. You're going to find out. It's all of that. So come November, of course, it'll be Rovember, and there aren't enough polls to, well, maybe they'll come up with one, but I don't believe in the polls anyway. But most people that will vote to keep their own personal bodily autonomy, they're not picking up a landline, and they're not dumb enough to take a poll online, because when you do that, they take your email and they distribute it outwards. They sell your email, and this is life in this era of AI, and this is part of this Pluto in Aquarius abuse that we will be fighting, because AI doesn't care. The people that are doing it, they just want it for money. So Venus is over here at this later degree adapting. Venus adapts and it wants to be happy, but now we know these things that we know, and it's hard, right? This is a real reckoning. So with the trine coming off of the moon, and as the moon moves forward, it'll also trine Eris. But now it's like there's that feel on the feeling level. The mood is courageous, and the mood has a deeper understanding of what's going on and where we're headed. And with the trine over to Chiron, it's like, no, you're not going to hold me down anymore. I will move forward. I am daring. I will assert my independence. And I don't care if I'm abandoned. And I don't care what you think about me. And I don't care to be kowtowing to you anymore, type of a thing. Or not seeing the fact that, this government is literally, the GOP is literally just gaslighting a bunch of women. Controlling and gaslighting. So with the sextile over to Mercury and the Sun, the Mercury's imbuing, Mercury's coming into, pick up with the light of the Sun. And so that's a very strong position. I think they call it like Kazemi or whatever, but I don't care. And Venus exactly sextiling Chiron. Yeah, this is more power to the women with this Mars square Pluto. So Tuesday's a big day. I can't predict what will happen, but I can say that there will be action that's taken, and I think it'll be very verbal and very creative and very self-expressive and full of tons and tons of courage. So yeah. And then the last thing before I move on to Wednesday, notice this sesquisquadrate here coming from Pluto to Mercury. So again, that's it. Unexpected disruptions, detours that have to be made because there's somebody upset the apple cart. Well, it was upset a long time ago, and now we're throwing the damn apples. Wednesday. The moon's in Virgo, and Mercury exactly squares Saturn. So there's communication coming out. This comes in at 3:47 in the morning, which is super early. But so no matter what time you wake up, the deal is with Mercury at that, it's so getting very close to the Sun, but we're totally in that past the learning lesson stage, just because by 10 minutes or so. So probably when you wake up in the morning, Mercury will be about maybe 19.5 degrees Gemini. So we're in that. At 20 degrees, we're in the deepening stage. 10 to 19 degrees is the learning lessons stage, or the lessons being learned stage, I guess is a better way to say it. And with the square from Mercury to Saturn, again, this is like governmental rules that are trying to victimize women. And this is Donald John Trump, the convicted felon, trying to grift off of his people. And with the square over to Mercury, and his birthday coming up in 2 days, is very, very possible that some more dirt comes out about him. I doubt the gag order will be lifted. I think it needs to be there even more strongly after the verdict came out, the 34 guilty counts came out, because he has proven himself to be, my God, he instigated the insurrection. He stood up there on the stage at the second debate in 2020 and said, "Stand back, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by." He said that, right? Of course, now he's going around saying that he never said to lock her up to Hillary. Instead, he's playing the victim game and saying they want to lock me up. So he's begging in order to get money. he's begging his people to keep him out of jail. He's begging his people to give him money to fight against a made up. I mean, because of all the things he's saying about Biden and the DOJ, and it's a bunch of bull, you know what, and yeah, I think he's gonna just firk around and find out. So, with the square to Mercury, that's the deal. It's like there are lies, there are there's gaslighting, there's victimization, but people are figuring stuff out, and if it's like maybe because there's always the straw that breaks the camel's back. So maybe this GOP saying they will not protect birth control. Maybe men are even starting to think, well, shit, can I buy a condom now? Or if I let this go, if I vote for all this bullshit, will I be able to buy a condom in 2025? Like what, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, Vern? So yeah, because we still have the square to Pluto, and these are tight orbs, so the separating orb will last for quite some time, but just to get the direct hits for the day. Otherwise, we're looking at so many aspects, and it's like an hour and a half is too long, and I'll try to make this shorter this week. I couldn't last week. But yeah, so all the same things. Mercury in conjunct Ceres we've covered. This sesquisquare now is hitting up Jupiter. And so we're thinking about law. Just like I was just saying, we're thinking about law, and we're thinking about taking care of and protecting and fighting for our rights. Mars in Taurus and Ceres in Capricorn has everything, even though we don't have an aspect yet, has everything to do. And Mars is making its way. It will. There will be the square and all the other aspects in a little while, like it's making to Pluto. But the deal is that, like I said, we're seeing the writing on the wall. We know where it's headed. Is this the direction we want to go? Mars is very directional. Capricorn is always trying to keep the bottom line in place. Well, again, upsetting things with a new law with Jupiter and that sesquisquadrant there to Ceres. It's just over the top ridiculous, and I don't think people are going for it. Now with the moon in Virgo coming in, and exactly, so we've got the square to Mercury squaring Saturn that's important today, but also this trine from the moon connecting with Mars. So let's talk about the Virgo moon a little bit, because I think I've already said everything I can say about Mars and Taurus. What we're dealing with the moon in Virgo has to do with so it's the mood. Whenever the moon is in moves into whatever sign it's in, it's always it's our mood. We're all feeling this. We're feeling the moon in Virgo, which makes us want to get organized. Because Virgo in the highest sense is divine order. Virgo is about our health. It has to do with being useful and being in service. It doesn't mind being alone in order to bring in more divine order. Virgo does not like not being valued. And Virgo can't stand chaos. Virgo doesn't like chaos. So with the trine over to Mars, I'm predicting this day is a really, really good day for getting organized, for being useful and of service to each other. It's also a really good day for discriminating, making, being very discerning in really, really practical ways. And it's also a sign of learning. Virgo learns, just like, but it's more like with Gemini, you have the idea, and then with Virgo, you're playing around with the tools to make sure that your idea can be put into place, or your ideas can be put into place. So with Mars, there's a lot of energy for that today. And then the moon is also making an inconjunct to Pluto. So, and this is, again, this is early in the morning, but it'll last. It'll go. Let's see. Let me get to the hours here. Let's see how long. Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a sesqui square coming in there. My goodness, by 5:47 a.m., the moon is squaring Jupiter. So it's about, got to be careful about expanding. Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe there's some, because Pluto can take us into the depths. I'm wondering if there's something that comes through in dream time Tuesday night and gives you the way, like there's something that just breaks through in dream time and helps you to adjust to whatever it is you're trying to, that you've been working on. Maybe you go to sleep on Tuesday night not being able to finish something because you didn't have all the information you needed, or maybe you're just exhausted. That can happen, especially after the moon's in Leo. And then Virgo comes in and you're integrating. There's a lot to do with integration. But anyway, there's something about working through something and getting the answers that you need and bringing that through. Because, if you get up early, that inconjunct is gone. But then before 6 a.m., we've got that sesquisquadrate there. So there's this detour. And we did have, the inconjunct, which was an adjustment. So again, it's very possible you get some dreamtime guidance. Let's see what happens if we go forward a couple more hours. Yeah, that sesquisquadrate doesn't move off until 9:47 or before, somewhere in there. I didn't, use the minutes. I would be here all day, but but suffice to say that before 10 a.m., that adjustment period is gone. The obstacles, the need for a detour is gone, and you're kind of on your merry way, just working on it's like the nuts and bolts and all the details, which I love having. All the take good advantage of these days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because we have this Taurus energy and the Virgo energy up here Virgo with the moon, Taurus with Mars and Uranus. Ceres is holding space for quite some time for Capricorn. So we've got the Earth trine, even though they're not yet. They're not. We had the trine from Mars, but the trine to Ceres won't happen until the moon gets to 19 degrees of Virgo. So yeah, okay, let's see. Anything else? I think this is good. Let's go to Thursday. So Thursday, you can see the moon's at 15 degrees. It's coming into that orb of the trine to Ceres, but it's not there yet. But that 5 a.m. on Thursday, the 13th, June 13th. Now you can see we've had this, and this will stay for quite some time. But this little sextile coming here, the opportunity. Sextiles always bring in opportunities to create something stable, to create a very stable spiritual foundation, to learn how to protect yourself. Or to learn how to master. Saturn helps us to master. So if you've learned the last couple years, or especially the last couple years since Saturn has been in Pisces, last few years even, if you've learned that that's right, because Saturn went retrograde. It's a long period to have Saturn in Pisces, which is unusual. But I'm pretty sure 3 years ago we had Saturn in Pisces. But nevertheless, most importantly, if you've discovered that you're an empath, then all this Gemini energy here is awesome for understanding what your body's trying to tell you. and to not be afraid. So the way I work it is I'll get the feeling, and then I'll ask, oh, is this for me? Do I need to work with this? What's going on here? Or is it for, if usually it happens when I'm working with someone else. And so I set the intention that, okay, I have the information now. If it's not for me, please take it away. And usually it just goes right away. But then I have that piece of information where I can help somebody go deeper with whatever, because maybe the information I'm getting in my body is telling me the real issue, even though we have all these other ideas. But the real issue, right, which is just usually reflected in the cards, but it just helps. There's a deepening there. So learn what the messages are for you, and that'll be the wonderful opportunity, especially with Ceres in Capricorn. Capricorn's like in the bones, like you just know, but you don't know how you know. Well, your body's trying to tell you with that sextile over to Saturn in Pisces. And then that is how you can master being so sensitive instead of being afraid and having to push it away, right? Like your body's just trying to help you. It's not trying to hurt you, right? I mean, anybody can stand 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 3 seconds of physical pain for just to understand. Actually, it's usually more like 2. And then you go, ooh, what was that? Why? Okay, why? Right? And it's good. I mean, it's useful. And with the moon in Virgo, it's all about being useful, getting useful information to stabilize and master a specific area of your life. And we all have many areas in life, but there are some that are so deeply fundamental that, like when you're hooked up with your guidance system in your body, then life is not so scary anymore, right? That's the thing. It's all about you, connected to the universe, connected to the forces of love, and then navigating your life coming from that. So celebrate your body when it's trying to tell you things. Okay, let's see. Lots of sextiles going on here. Notably, I'm seeing the exact sextile from Venus to Eris. So there's a lot of feminine courage through sharing information. And look how much closer the sun is to Venus. Yeah, this is great. Hold on one second. The other sextile, you can see I'll enlarge it a little bit for you there, and for me too. Chiron is sextiling Venus. Eris is sextiling Venus. But Chiron is also exactly sextiling the sun. So whatever we're learning today is really of importance and can bring through great opportunities to move forward. It's a day of information for sure. So try not to get overwhelmed. Focus in on, you know what I mean? You can get a piece of information and just write it down and not do anything about it and then move on because maybe you don't have time and then you go back to it. It looks to be like one of those days. But then again, you can see right here, Eris is giving us this little semi-square, or not semi-square, I'm sorry, semi-sextile over to Uranus. So Uranus brings in ideas. It's a great awakener, and it helps to liberate us on some level, or it can just break something open sometimes, and it can also bring through a breakthrough. It can be breakthroughs, it can be a split, it can be a separation, it can help you detach if you need to. But most of all, with it being connected over here to Eris, there's that courage coming through on that deeper feminine level. And you know, with Eris being a dwarf planet just as powerful as Pluto, you just have to remember she's always the feminine counterpart to, and I know I said I don't know how you genderize the planets, but Eris is definitely feminine. Pluto's definitely masculine, Venus is feminine, Mars is masculine, but it's the signs. When we get to the signs, I get confused around, is that really masculine or feminine? I've never memorized all that because it's boring. I don't like putting so many things into these finite categories. I like to leave things more open. I guess I'm fluid that way. Okay, so or fluid or just lazy, I don't know, whatever. But Eris, just remember, she's our feminine struggle for equality. Okay, and there's that. So the feminine struggle for equality to the feminine planet of Venus, and the new ideas, new communications, new networking, because Pluto's up here in Aquarius, which is all about networking, but so is Gemini. You have to communicate in order to network, and with Mercury ruling Gemini, it's in its natural sign, and look how close it is to the sun, right? So yeah, we will be learning new things. That's for darn sure. And let's see, did I talk? No, I didn't. Let's talk about this other one here. So Uranus, and then see the little semi-sextile here, over to Venus. Oh wait, is that where I started? I think I already said that. I'm sorry. So yeah, what happened is I started with this and then I got lost with Eris, or maybe I didn't, and maybe, okay, so the deal is here's the important piece. When you have Uranus or have any planet at the focal point, like these could be sextiles, they could be any aspect, but when you have, for now, what we have is Uranus at the focal point of these two semi-sextiles, and the one connecting to Eris, like I said, and the other one connecting to Venus. We can bet that Uranus is in the powerful position to break something open, to create some freedom, to create some, I think it'll be a breakthrough, but depends on what side of the aisle you're on politically. Yeah. We do have to be careful when it comes to Uranus. It's like it's connected to communities, but it's also, if things are screwed up, it's connected to gangs and mobs and things like that. So you don't want to be in the middle of an angry mob, and I don't see that at all because we've got Venus over here, but Eris gets pissed off easily, and she's not taking it anymore. And so all I can say is don't get in any arguments with your women, unless you have, maybe you're a Democratic woman and you have a Republican sister. Be gentle. Be gentle in your arguments. Because it's hard to break out of that religious bubble or that bubble of misinformation that you've been stuck in for a long time. It's literally just think of it in terms of they've learned something that wasn't right or wasn't true. They've learned something that wasn't true, and they've been entrenched in that. And, you have to be gentle. So, yeah. Okay. Friday, the sun is right there, sandwiched in between Mercury and Venus like it has been, but now Mercury's caught up to Mercury's caught up to the sun. And, but Venus is still there holding space. And the sun is squaring the moon, right? And the moon is squaring Venus exactly. This I have set for 5 a.m. and it's June 14th, which is Flag Day, and some convict, some felonious 45's birthday. So, no matter how early you wake up, the deal is that the moon at this third decan of the sign of Virgo is going to either be very, very discriminating and bringing in specific types of practical opportunities. There's the tension field to do that. There's the need to act and to make choices that will bring in strength. The only way to mess this up would be to let yourself just be all cluttered and don't discriminate and don't integrate anything, and or be judgmental, put yourself down, be self-judgmental, self-depreciating. That could mess everything up. That's one of the ways to, But we all have bad days, so there's that. And it will pass, It won't be long before it'll be. It's already 26 minutes. 26 degrees, 56 minutes. So it's almost at 27 degrees. There's only 2 more degrees to go before it's in lovely Libra. But yeah, if we use this time, between Wednesday and Sunday here to get really, Thursday to Sunday, to get very, very organized, we can really be, in fact, be careful about needing to be hyper organized with this energy. That's another thing. Yeah. Okay, you can see Saturn has a semi-square to Mars. This is another point that's action that needs to be taken in order to feel better. So again, like I said, Saturn in Pisces is about mastering your life in a way that protects your sensitivity, protects your vulnerability. And that means we help each other out with that too. We're sensitive to each other. We allow people to be vulnerable with us, and we never use that against them or do anything other than celebrate the fact that they included us into themselves, right? This is a place of being connected into oneness. Pisces is all about oneness. If there's been victimization with this semi-square to Mars, I think there's going to be some healthy boundaries that will be set, because they just cannot do it anymore. It's like, when something cuts into your personal reality in a way that upsets your family, yourself and your family, then it's like, hold on here. We could almost, maybe this little semi-square, we could just turn it into a little hand that says, hold on, push. When we've got the Mars in Taurus, they're pushing back. Okay, let's see. The sextile we still have going on from Chiron to Mercury. Yes, so we're, like I said before, we're talking about it. We still have those what do you call the semi-sextiles too. Those are the same. So yeah, so you know what, let's do this. Let's go forward and see how many hours it takes to get the moon into Libra. Somewheres around noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then at that point, we have the moon opposing, actually with the moon, the moon in Virgo at 29 degrees, opposing Neptune at 29 degrees Pisces. This is at 11 a.m. Pacific. That's important. With the moon opposing Neptune, we are looking, we're highly organized, and now we're looking to let go into spirit, because you can't do anything else. That's how I'm feeling about it. And so there's a big breakthrough. Now, on the challenging side, if you've been judging yourself harshly or judging others harshly, and you're wanting to let go of that, just give that to spirit and ask your source energy, your spiritual foundation, your team, to your spiritual family to help you forgive. There's a lot of forgiveness in this polarity, especially with Neptune and Pisces. And my goodness, Neptune's just about ready to get into Aries. It won't be until March of next year, because it moves so darn slow. But look how it's at 29 degrees and 50 minutes, right? That's amazing. That is truly amazing. It's at that, that nth degree, that anaretic degree of Pisces. So all the positive attributes of Pisces is our intuition, it's our imagination, it's our compassion, and like I said, very sensitive and empathic. Um, Pisces is also really beautiful energy for healing. So this is like spiritual healing here. This is including everyone. This is, when you're in the state of love, you want to put that out to everyone. Don't give it to just a select few. Send it everywhere. Well, I don't want to tell you what to do, but that's what I do. I don't want to tell you what to do. Sorry. But Pisces is also related to art. Anything spiritual, artistic, musically oriented, anything that you want to devote yourself to. It's all about psychic, energy too. And then with Neptune being our planet of source energy and unity consciousness. And Neptune itself is connected to the arts. That's why, we're starting to see, we'll see more and more. But because while Neptune is in this journey of Pisces, there's a lot of power with movie and film. Well, there always was. But this last 14 years has been phenomenal for that. And it'll be even more. So anyway, with Neptune also, it can dissolve. So we could use this energy today for dissolving any self-judgment, dissolving any, with the moon in Virgo at that anaretic degree as well, it can be very intense. So we're looking at intensely spiritual, forgiving type of energy that could get you out of anxiety, that could, allow you to just ground in deep down into your bones and just let go and relax and like let go, let God kind of energy, right? Or let go, let spirit, let great spirit, whatever you call it, that higher power, that greater power of the cosmos. Let's see. Yeah, and it's very creative too. Super, super creative. But if we're going to be coming from the dark side of Neptune, then that's where we have to we have to be careful about addiction. We have to be careful about just numbing out in any way possible, I would think with all this Gemini, we're having to take some downtime away from the information overload, and that I understand. And then other things with Neptune is it can create confusion and distortion. It can outright deceive. So there can be this critical with the dark side of the moon in Virgo. There can be this like critical, critical words, written and spoken words that come because Mercury rules Virgo, and the Sun is conjunct Mercury here, right? So something could come out that is critical and harsh, and yeah, we'll just see how it goes. And it's on whose birthday, so there's that. So he's having this in his chart. And I think Neptune is in Pisces occupy his seventh house of relationship. So that would put, the Virgo moon in his first house. He's going to be spewing a lot of lies. I can promise you that. But you don't need an astrologer or a psychic to tell you that. You have your massive skills of observation. Okay, Saturday, the Sun is sextile. So right here, there's the sextile over to, here, let me open it up for you. See how the Sun's here at 24, And then Eris is at 25. So there's an opportunity for some, the light to come shining through. And look how Mercury, not Mercury, Mercury has now moved on the other side of the sun. But they're still talking, right? Mercury's still talking to the sun or picking up messages from the sun because Mercury is the messenger. And Mercury's now really getting close to talking to Venus. So the message is coming through as to learning new things. And Venus is at that very ripe degree, 27 degrees of Gemini. So this is like the power of the word, like I said last week, the power of the word and the light that can come through all three of these planets right here. Three or more planets is a stellium, but this whole stellium is within that 20 to 29 degree range of the third decan of the sign, again deepening and blossoming, this time the power of the word. And then with the sextile over to Eris, brings in all that feminine courage and all those who will fight for the feminine. You don't have to be a woman to fight for the feminine. You don't have to be a man to fight for a woman. You don't have to be a woman to fight for a man. You can, it's all about principle and spiritual law. And with Jupiter and Gemini, I would think a lot of people might be a little more curious about how spiritual law works and what spiritual laws are what. But first rule of thumb is you never try to take away anybody's free will. I would think that would be rule number one. Yeah, okay. Saturn, we have the semi-square to Mars. So again, somebody working on the dark side is going to be trying to grift, but there will be, with the semi-square, there's going to be friction around that, and people are, coming to either learning something new, and for you guys, for anyone else, if you've been in a job, this could be some new level of on-the-job training, or if you get a new job, it'll be, they will train you because you're valuable, and they'll train you from the start. This could be something like that, and it could be like a dream job with Saturn and Pisces. That's very possible there. But other aspects with semi-square are, sometimes just indecision, but usually friction, and you have to take action. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, and then we do have, as you can see here, we have with Eris, we have that sextile of the sun. You can see and Mercury. But then we also have these little, I can't get it to open up anymore, but the little blue upside down or sideways Ks. Those are our semi-sextiles, and they bring in this like gradual effort to build something that you're working on manifesting. So Eris has the semi-sextile over here to Uranus. So this can be something that creates more freedom and safety that you're working on manifesting, or some new ways, there could be some enlightenment that comes through with Uranus as to how to be more abundant. You can see that Uranus is almost at 25 degrees there. And then we also have a semi-sextile coming from Jupiter here over to Mars. There's that. So there's action to expand because of new ideas, to become more abundant. We're building something here. And we're also building from Uranus over here to Mercury. You can see the 25 to the 24 degrees here, right here. So again, communication, networking, thinking outside the box, lots of communication around that, trying to come to some decisions, and bring in more freedom, right? So, yeah. And then the moon at 5 a.m. is only 5 degrees away from, 4 degrees. Well, the north node is almost at well, they go back. It goes backwards. The nodes go backwards. So it's at 12:51 going this way. The moon's coming this way, but the moon will move so much more quickly. Let's just go this way. Let's do this. 9, 10, 11. Come on. Yeah. So all morning and up until noon, and it'll take some time to get over the other side. That's 2 p.m. on Saturday. So there's this connection to the past with the south node. So the moon is going to come over and talk to the south node of the past, and you're going to start remembering things in the past about relationships and maybe negotiations, and where you are willing to literally put yourself with Libra on the bridge to meet something on the other side, even though you think you know what it is, but you might not, and that's okay. But will you put yourself in the middle up there? Will you get off of this other side where you're not deciding, and which is still a decision, and will you put yourself on the bridge so that you can move forward into the life that you're wanting to create? And how will you do that? Those are all the questions. Okay, Sunday, Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Like I said before, let's celebrate all week. We have the moon at 20 degrees of Libra. So that's lovely, actually. And I set it for 5 a.m. So this is June 16th, of course. With this sesquisquare there coming down to Jupiter. Dad might need some quiet time early in the morning and not so much noise. If you wake him up to say Happy Father's Day, he might rather you let him wake up and come out first. If you're a little kid, it never works that way, though. But anyway, there's a little bit of disruption with this energy here, and the Jupiter, in Gemini is just a whole lot of exuberance, and it's okay. This is the way it is, and the moon in Libra, I would think, would just be lovely anyway, because Libra is all about relating and getting together with people and sharing. Libra is so beautiful about that. If there's a challenge today, it might have something to do with some kind of scheduling thing, because on the downside of Libra, there can be some kind of either not committing. The dark side of Libra is floundering and flaky and non-committal, and can kind of be polarizing sometimes, like to maybe unconsciously be in control, or just not keeping an eye on the clock, just not thinking of the others, right? Being over on one side and not thinking of the others. So there could be a challenge there today. That's a possibility. We can also see that we have Venus squaring Neptune, so that can be a little challenging. And Venus is at 29 degrees now, right there. And I have another chart for Venus in Cancer that for later tonight, so that's coming. But anyway, for now, Venus exactly squaring Neptune. My goodness, with Venus in Gemini, with Venus wanting unity and wanting to indulge in some fun and wanting to communicate and wanting to, in Gemini, wanting to communicate, and it's all about that, right? There's wanting that gratification, and then the square to Neptune, there's some challenging things there. Maybe this is just a big shout out of love to all of those who have an elderly father who has dementia. And this doesn't bode well for Trump, though, at all. Yeah. because he has all that Gemini energy, so all of these planets have already crossed over his sun and Uranus and North Node and all of that. Yeah. So there could be something that comes out in the news about that. But yeah, so just tons of love for all the dads out there is what I want to say, and to be gentle with those who have parents that are, or yeah, it could be a mom too, or just any family member, any loved one who's going through dementia, and you're doing your best to support them. Yeah, okay, so let's look at the chart for Sunday night, just because that's when Venus moves into Cancer, and it happens at 11:21 p.m. Okay, so I won't say too much about it, just because we're going to be dealing with it next week. Well, actually, for longer than the week, but I'll just suffice to say that for today, for this morning when this or for this evening when this happens, and Monday morning we'll have this. Monday morning the 17th we'll have this energy too, except for the moon in Libra, that will be gone, but in the middle of the night. But for later this evening, this is really wonderful, sweet energy coming from Venus to the moon in Libra, Venus in Cancer. So Venus moving into Cancer now, it won't be so geared towards gathering information. It's geared more towards security. Mars in Taurus is helping that as well. But you can also see the squares coming up from Venus, Mercury and Venus. And next week, Mercury will move into Cancer too and join Venus. And it won't be long before the Sun is there as well. But for today, or for this evening and tomorrow, Monday morning, we do have Venus and Mercury squaring Neptune. So we don't want to be lied to. We do not want to be gaslighted. All of these things that nobody wants to go through anyway. Well, now there's like this fighting energy, and there can be arguments. So you want to be careful with family members and those that you love. Pick your battles, right? But with the moon, with this inconjunct over to Neptune, there can be some adjustments in relationship by late in the evening. So go to bed early, stay out of a fight, would probably be the best way to handle it. And because, usually we're not going to change people's minds, but when it's a family member or a loved one, as long as they're not abusive with their words to you, and they're not gaslighting you, and they're not being mean, if they do that, set the boundary, man. Set the boundary, and that boundary might be harsh, but or a healthy boundary to say no and disengage. But if it's just a difference of opinion after being through all this Gemini energy that is still here, by the way, we're going to have Jupiter and Gemini all year, and at the later degrees here with the Sun and Mercury, these are opinions, right? These are opinions. The opposite of Mercury is Sag, so you have to always hold in the balance of the polarities of the two signs. So with the Sun and Mercury in Venus, if someone hasn't learned to let go of their self-righteousness and their aloofness at this time, and their need to be right and saying that they know the truth without taking in other people's, without taking their opinions into consideration, then there will be some harsh lessons to learn. And that, we'll probably see when the moon will oppose Jupiter next week. We'll have that happen. When the moon moves into Sag, moves through Scorpio and then into Sag, we'll have that happen. But the sun may be, I'm thinking that the sun will be over here in Cancer by then. So anyway, with Venus in Cancer, it's all about, like I was saying before, Cancer wants to be safe. It's all about home and hearth and being the healthy mom, being the healthy dad. It's about emotional security. It's all about protecting the past that you've built. And it can be really intuitive and really psychic if you're, if you're working in the light. But the dark side of now with the the two trines over to the moon, I don't say there's really any dark side, but with the dark side of Cancer, you just always have to be careful of dependency and codependency and not letting go. All cancers have to learn how to let go. So yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about this, but I'll be back to it next week. So, okay, take good care, you guys. Bye.